Leave now!
Craig Lawson yelled across the lobby like he was ordering a stray dog. Everyone turned.
You heard me.
Byron stopped, looked at him.
Get out!
Craig's lips curled. Byron walked to the counter anyway, placed his ID down, silent.
I want to deposit money.
Craig didn't touch the ID. His gaze swept over Byron's skin, jeans, sneakers.
Deposit?
He snorted.
With what? Food stamps?
Silence. The whole lobby held its breath.
Byron's voice
$2.5
came
million.
soft.
You black guy, get out right now before I drag you out like trash!
Byron didn't blink. That was the last time Craig Lawson ever yelled at anyone behind a bank counter. What happened next? He had absolutely no idea. 3 hours earlier, Byron Mitchell was sitting on a foldable chair beside a muddy soccer field. His daughter Nyla had just scored her first goal of the season. She sprinted toward him, cleats caked in wet grass, arms wide open. Byron caught her mid-jump and spun her around. Her teammates screamed. The morning sun hit the dew on the field and turned everything gold.
Dad, did you see that? Did you see it?
Baby girl, the whole park saw it. He smelled like sunscreen and cheap coffee from the concession stand. Grass stains on his sneakers. A half-finished Gatorade sweating in the cup holder of his Honda Pilot. Nyla's shin guards tossed on the back seat next to a crumpled juice box. Nobody at that soccer field knew who Byron Mitchell was. Nobody needed to. He was just a dad, cheering too loud, clapping too hard, grinning like his kid just won the World Cup. That was the version of Byron the world never saw. The version no magazine ever printed. Because on paper, Byron Mitchell was the founder and CEO of Pinnacle Equity Group, a private equity firm managing over $11 billion in assets. 3 weeks ago, his firm had quietly acquired a controlling stake in First Heritage Bank. Nobody at the bank knew yet. The official announcement was scheduled for Monday. But Byron didn't want to wait until Monday. He wanted to walk in unannounced. No suit, no entourage, no title. Just a man walking into a bank to make a deposit. He wanted to see how the staff treated someone who looked like him when they didn't know who he was. A quiet audit, in plain clothes. His godfather Raymond Cross sat in the passenger seat. 71 years old, retired federal judge, hands folded over a leather briefcase. He looked at Byron over his reading glasses. "You sure about this?" Byron nodded. "I need to see it for myself." Raymond leaned back. "Then I'll wait in the car. I'm too old for fluorescent lights." Byron smiled, grabbed the deposit slip from the glove box, stepped out. The First Heritage Bank on Crestwood Boulevard sat like a polished monument at the edge of a neighborhood in transition. New condos rising on one side, a laundromat and a check-cashing spot on the other. The building itself was all glass and limestone, designed to say, "Money lives here." Inside, the air was cold and smelled like carpet cleaner. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. 4 teller windows lined the back wall. An American flag hung in the corner, limp and still. A security camera dome glinted above the entrance like a glass eye watching everything. 2 windows were open. Window 1, Denise Calloway, a young black woman in her late 20s. She was helping an elderly black woman count out bills for a money order. Patient, warm, smiling like she had all the time in the world. Window 3, Craig Lawson. Craig was handling a white couple, mid-50s, matching polo shirts. He was all teeth. Leaning forward, laughing at something the husband said. "Oh, absolutely, Mr. Jennings. We'll get that wire processed before lunch. No problem at all." He shook their hands, both of them. Firm grip, big smile. The moment they walked away, the smile dropped, like someone flipped a switch. Craig adjusted his nameplate. Craig Lawson, Senior Teller, like he was polishing a medal. He glanced over at Denise's window, where the elderly black woman was asking about a fee. Craig rolled his eyes. Didn't even try to hide it. Denise caught it. Said nothing. Craig Lawson had been at this branch for 6 years. Passed over for promotion twice. He told anyone who'd listen it was because of diversity quotas. His branch manager, Tom Hadley, played golf with Craig's father. They went back 20 years. 3 complaints had been filed against Craig in the past 4 years, all from Black or Latino customers, all saying the same thing. He was rude, dismissive, hostile. All 3 complaints landed on Tom Hadley's desk. All 3 disappeared. No investigation, no write-up, no record. Craig never even knew they existed, and that made him comfortable, untouchable even. He believed he could say whatever he wanted to whoever he wanted. And then Byron Mitchell walked through the door. Byron didn't rush. He walked across the lobby the way a man walks when he knows exactly where he's going. Shoulders relaxed, hands at his sides, eyes forward. 3 customers were ahead of him in line. He waited. A mother with a toddler on her hip, an older man in a plaid shirt, a college kid with a backpack. All white. All served without incident. Craig smiled at each one, made small talk, called the older man Sir, told the mother her baby was adorable. Then the line was empty, and Byron stepped forward. Craig was looking at his screen, typing something. He didn't look up. Byron waited. 5 seconds. 10. Craig kept typing. His jaw tightened, just slightly. He knew someone was standing there. He just didn't care. Byron placed his ID on the counter, the soft click of plastic on marble. Craig's eyes flicked to the ID, then up. Slowly. He scanned Byron the way someone inspects a stain on a white shirt. Starting at the sneakers, grass-stained, muddy from the soccer field, up to the jeans, faded, comfortable. The Henley shirt, untucked, no logo. Then the face, black. Craig's expression didn't change. It hardened. "Can I help you?" Not a question. A wall. Byron slid the deposit slip across. "I'd like to deposit $2.5 million into this account." Craig looked at the slip, looked at Byron, looked at the slip again. Then he laughed. Not a chuckle, a laugh. Short, sharp, through the nose, the kind that says, "You're joking, right?" $2.5 million. Craig repeated it slowly, like he was explaining a math problem to a child. "You want to deposit $2.5 million. That's correct. Craig pushed the deposit slip back across the counter. Didn't slide it. Pushed it with his fingertip, like it was contaminated. "I'm going to need multiple forms of ID for something like this." Byron nodded. He pulled out a second ID, his passport, placed it beside the driver's license, both aligned neatly on the counter. Craig picked up the driver's license, held it to the light, tilted it left, tilted it right, squinted at the hologram like he was examining a counterfeit bill at a flea market. He did not do this for the white couple before Byron. He did not do this for the older man in plaid. He did not do this for the college kid. "This doesn't look right," Craig muttered. "It's a valid state-issued ID," Byron said. Craig ignored him. He placed the license flat on the counter and started typing. Slowly, one key at a time. His eyes moved between the screen and Byron's face like he was cross-referencing a mugshot. 30 seconds passed. A minute. Craig sucked his teeth, shook his head. System's not pulling anything up. Byron tilted his head. That account has been active for 3 years. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Craig shrugged. It's not showing. Maybe you've got the wrong bank. He didn't have the wrong bank, and the system wasn't broken. The narrator would learn later, during the investigation, that Craig never entered the account number at all. He typed random keys. He never searched. He had already decided Byron didn't belong here. Craig leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. Look, where exactly did this money come from? Byron blinked. Excuse me? The $2.5 million. Where'd it come from? Because I've been working in this bank 6 years, and people who look like you don't walk in here with that kind of money. The words landed like a brick through glass. The elderly woman at Denise's window froze. Denise's hand stopped mid-keystroke. A man in the waiting area lowered his newspaper. Byron's jaw tightened. A vein pulsed at his temple, but his voice stayed level. I'm a customer of this bank. I have a valid account. I provided 2 forms of government-issued identification. I'd like you to process my deposit. Craig didn't move. He looked at Byron the way you look at something stuck to the bottom of your shoe. Step aside. I'm sorry? Step aside. Craig pointed to the roped-off waiting area. I have other customers to help. You can wait over there until we figure out what's going on with your situation. Byron didn't step aside. He turned slightly and looked behind him. There was exactly one person in line, a white man in a golf shirt holding a single check. The man raised his hand awkwardly. I can wait. It's really no problem. Craig didn't acknowledge him. He stared at Byron. Sir, I'm asking you to move. Byron turned back to Craig. And I'm asking you to do your job. Something shifted in Craig's face. The mask slipped. The professional veneer cracked. What was underneath was raw and ugly. Tom. Craig's voice rang out across the lobby. Tom, I need you over here. Tom Hadley emerged from his glass-walled office in the back corner. White, mid-50s, soft around the middle. He walked with the kind of authority that comes from managing the same branch for 12 years without anyone questioning him. He buttoned his blazer as he approached. His eyes bounced between Craig and Byron and made a calculation in under 2 seconds. What's going on here? Tom's voice was practiced, smooth. The voice of a man who had diffused complaints by making them disappear. Craig leaned in and whispered, just loud enough for the narrator to piece together later from witness testimony. This guy says he wants to deposit $2.5 million. Something's off, Tom. Way off. Tom looked at Byron, put on a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience. We just need to make sure everything's in order. Standard procedure. You understand. Byron met his gaze. I understand. Everything is in order. I'd like to complete my deposit. Tom glanced at the 2 IDs on the counter. He didn't pick them up. He didn't look at the account number. He didn't check the system. Tell you what, Tom said, crossing his arms. Why don't you come back on Monday? Bring some additional documentation, proof of funds, maybe a bank statement from the originating account, and we'll get this all sorted out for you. Byron's eyes narrowed slightly. What specific documentation are you requesting? Tom's smile flickered. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Just, whatever you have. I have 2 valid IDs and an active account. What else do you need? Tom didn't answer. He looked at Craig. Craig looked at Tom. A silent agreement passed between them. Craig straightened up in his chair, squared his shoulders, and then, loud enough for the entire lobby to hear, said the words that would end his career. "We don't do handouts here." The lobby went dead quiet. Whatever you're looking for, charity, a scam, whatever this is, it's not happening at my window. Craig pointed at the door. His finger was steady. His face was stone. Leave. Now. A woman near the entrance gasped. The man in the golf shirt took a step back. Denise's hand rose to her mouth. Byron stood perfectly still. His hands didn't clench. His voice didn't rise. He looked at Craig with an expression that was hard to read. Not anger exactly. Something deeper. Sadder. He picked up his IDs from the counter. Slowly, one at a time, slid them back into his wallet. Then he looked Craig dead in the eye. "I want your full name, and I want the branch manager to formally document why you are refusing to process a legitimate transaction for a verified customer." Craig smirked. "My name's on the plate, pal, and the only thing getting documented today is you leaving this building." Tom Hadley said nothing. He stood beside Craig with his arms folded. A unified front. 2 men who had been getting away with this for years. Byron nodded. Once. Slowly. "Okay." He didn't leave. He stepped to the side, pulled out his phone, and dialed a number. Craig watched him. The smirk faded. Just a fraction. Something about the way Byron dialed. Unhurried, deliberate, like a man executing a plan, made the air in the room shift. Craig watched Byron dial. For 3 seconds, something flickered behind his eyes. Uncertainty. A crack in the armor. But it died fast. Whatever doubt tried to crawl in, Craig's pride stomped it flat. He reached for the bank phone, picked it up like a weapon. "Yeah, I need police at First Heritage Bank, Crestwood Boulevard branch." His voice was loud, deliberately loud. He wanted Byron to hear every word. "We've got a man here refusing to leave, causing a disturbance, possibly attempting fraud." He paused, listened. "Black male, 6 foot, maybe taller, jeans, sneakers." He looked directly at Byron as he said it, smiling. "Yeah, he's still here." He hung up, leaned back, crossed his arms like a man who just played his winning card. "Cops are on their way." Craig tilted his head. "Last chance to walk out on your own 2 feet." Byron didn't look at him. He was still on his phone, speaking quietly. Too quietly for Craig to hear. Calm. Measured. Like a man placing an order for coffee, not a man who just had the police called on him. That calm. It bothered Craig more than anything. Byron's refusal to break, to flinch, to show fear. It gnawed at him like a splinter under the skin. Denise Calloway sat frozen at window 1. Her hands were in her lap. Her screen had gone to sleep. She stared at the counter, jaw clenched, blinking hard. She wanted to say something. God, she wanted to. She'd been at this branch 4 months. 4 months of watching Craig make comments under his breath when black customers walked in. 4 months of hearing him joke with Tom about certain people and their creative accounting. 4 months of needing this job, The paycheck, the insurance, the stability. Too much to risk losing it. But watching a man get the police called on him for depositing his own money? This crossed a line she could feel in her stomach. A woman near the entrance had pulled out her phone. The red recording light blinked steadily. She didn't try to hide it. Craig was too focused on his own performance to notice. Tom Hadley had retreated to the far edge of the lobby, not intervening, not correcting Craig, just standing with his hands in his pockets, watching the situation he helped create with the blank expression of a man who had perfected the art of doing nothing. The lobby clock ticked. 11:48 a.m. 8 minutes later, a patrol car pulled into the lot. No siren, no lights, just the quick chirp of tires on pavement and the heavy thud of a car door. Officer Trent Doyle walked in, early 30s, clean uniform, buzz cut, one hand resting on his belt, not on his weapon, but close enough that Byron noticed. Close enough that Denise noticed. Close enough that every black person in that lobby felt the temperature drop. His eyes swept the room the way a man scans a space when he's already been told who the problem is. Craig met him halfway, animated, pointing. That's him, right there. Refused to leave twice. Claims he wants to deposit millions. Craig dropped his voice, but not enough. Honestly, officer, I think he's casing the place. You know how it goes. Doyle looked across the lobby. Byron stood by the counter, phone in his pocket, hands visible. Still. He didn't shift or fidget. Didn't do any of the things a guilty man does when a uniform walks through the door. Doyle approached. His boots echoed on the marble. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step outside with me." Byron met his eyes. "Officer, I'm a customer of this bank. I came in to make a deposit. I was refused service without explanation. I have every right to be here." Doyle glanced back at Craig. "Bank staff says you were asked to leave." "I was, after being denied a legitimate transaction. I've provided 2 forms of ID. I've raised my voice 0 times. I've threatened no one. I still need to see some ID." Byron handed over his license without hesitation. Doyle studied it, walked to the entrance, keyed his shoulder radio, and ran it. The lobby waited. 1 minute. 2. 3. The fluorescent lights hummed. The air conditioning clicked on with a low rattle. Somewhere in the back, a printer whirred and went silent. Doyle came back. His expression had changed. The edge was gone. In its place, confusion. "He's clean," Doyle said to Craig. "No warrants, no flags, nothing." Craig's face tightened like a fist. "I don't care if he's clean. He's not a customer here. Look at him." Doyle paused. "What do you mean, look at him?" "I mean, look at him." Craig gestured at Byron, his clothes, his shoes, his skin. One sweeping motion, head to toe. "Does that look like a man with $2.5 million? Use your eyes." The words sat in the air like smoke from a fire no one wanted to name. Doyle stared at Craig. Something behind the officer's eyes shifted. He was beginning to understand what this was actually about. But Craig couldn't stop. The momentum of his own arrogance carried him forward like a car with no brakes. "I've been in banking 6 years. I know what money looks like when it walks through that door." He jabbed a finger toward Byron. "And that is not it." Tom Hadley stepped forward, not to stop Craig, to reinforce him. "Officer, we have the right to refuse service. Bank policy. We felt the transaction was suspicious and acted accordingly." Byron spoke. Quiet, but every word sharp enough to cut glass. Can you show me the specific policy that allows you to refuse a verified customer with valid identification attempting a lawful deposit? Tom's smile froze. Can you cite the regulation? The clause? The section number? Nothing. Can either of you explain, on record, in front of these witnesses and that camera? Byron's eyes moved to the woman recording, then back. Why the white couple before me processed a $1.8 million wire transfer with a smile and a handshake, while I can't deposit my own money without the police being called? The lobby was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning breathing through the vents. Craig's neck turned deep red. His fists balled at his sides.
I don't have to explain myself to you, his voice cracked. Leave this bank right now, or I swear I'll have you arrested for trespassing.
He turned to Doyle, eyes wild. I want to press charges. Disruption of business, trespassing, whatever you can write up. Doyle didn't move. He looked at Craig, then Byron, then the woman with the phone. Sir, Doyle said slowly, he has valid ID. His record is clean. He hasn't raised his voice or made threats. I can't arrest a man for standing inside a bank. Craig's face went purple. Then what the hell are you here for? Doyle didn't answer. Denise Calloway pushed back from her desk. Quietly. She stood, smoothed her blouse, and walked toward Officer Doyle. Her heart hammered in her throat. She leaned close and whispered, just barely loud enough. He didn't do anything wrong. Craig never even searched the account. I watched him. He typed random keys. Doyle looked at her. She held his gaze. Didn't blink. He nodded once. Byron, 5 feet away, caught the exchange. His expression shifted. Just barely. Not relief. Something closer to recognition. One person in this building saw him as human. Then Byron looked at Craig. For the first time, his expression truly changed. Not anger. Something deeper. Older. The quiet exhaustion of a man who has stood in this exact spot. Different room, different city, different face behind the counter. 100 times before. You have no idea what you've just done. Craig's chin lifted. Is that a threat? No. Byron's voice was barely above a whisper. It's a fact. His phone buzzed. A single text from Raymond Cross, sitting in the car 30 feet away, watching through the glass. They're 2 minutes out. Byron slid the phone into his pocket. Outside, through the glass doors, a black Escalade turned into the parking lot. Slow, deliberate. It moved like it had all the time in the world. It parked directly in front of the entrance. Craig watched it. The redness crept from his neck to his ears. His mouth opened slightly. 2 doors opened at the same time. A woman in a charcoal suit, a man in a dark tie carrying a leather portfolio. They walked toward the entrance, side by side, heels clicking on pavement in perfect, unhurried rhythm. Craig swallowed. His throat was dry. Something told him, deep in his gut, in the part of the brain that recognizes danger before the mind catches up, that those 2 people were not here to make a deposit. The glass door swung open, and Craig Lawson's entire career walked through it. The woman in the charcoal suit walked in first. She moved the way people move when they own the ground beneath them. Back straight, chin level, eyes already locked on target. Behind her, the man with the leather portfolio held the door. His face was unreadable. Lawyer face. Craig straightened up behind his counter. Instinct. The suit, the posture, the Escalade. Everything about these 2 screamed authority, The kind of authority Craig respected. The kind he obeyed. "Can I help?" The woman walked right past him. Didn't even glance in his direction. She stopped in front of Byron. And then, something happened that rewired every brain in that lobby. She extended her hand. Both hands, actually. She took Byron's hand and held it the way you hold the hand of someone you answer to. "Mr. Mitchell," her voice carried across the marble. "I am so sorry. We weren't expecting you until Monday." The room didn't just go quiet. It vacuum sealed. Craig's mouth opened. Nothing came out. His hand was still raised from his half-greeting, frozen mid-air, like a broken animatronic. Tom Hadley took one step backward. Just one. But it was the step of a man whose legs were deciding things before his brain could catch up. Sheila Burgess, VP of Compliance, First Heritage Bank, turned to face Craig and Tom. She didn't rush. She let the silence do the work first. "Do either of you know who this man is?" Craig blinked. His jaw worked up and down. No sound. Tom shook his head. A tiny, desperate movement. Sheila nodded, slowly. "This is Byron Mitchell, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Equity Group." She paused. Let each word land like a stone dropped into still water. His firm completed a controlling acquisition of First Heritage Bank 3 weeks ago. Every branch, every account, every employee. She looked at Craig. "He is, effectively, your employer." The woman with the phone whispered, "Oh my God." The recording light was still blinking. The elderly man in the waiting area lowered his newspaper all the way to his lap. The mother with the toddler covered her mouth. Craig's face went through 4 colors in 3 seconds. Red to white to gray to something that didn't have a name. His hands dropped to the counter. His fingers gripped the edge like the floor had just tilted beneath him. "That's..." Craig's voice came out thin, cracked. "That's not... I didn't..." He couldn't finish a sentence. Every word he tried to form collapsed before it left his mouth. Byron looked at him, calm, unhurried. The same steadiness he'd carried since the moment he walked through that door. But now the context had changed, and that calmness didn't look like weakness anymore. It looked like power. Absolute, patient, terrifying power. Byron spoke. Not loudly. He didn't need to. "I came here today to see how this branch operates. No title, no announcement. Just a man walking into a bank to make a deposit." He paused. "Now I've seen it." He turned to Officer Doyle. "Officer, you can go. There's no crime here. Except maybe the one committed against me." Doyle nodded. He looked at Craig one last time. A look that carried something between pity and contempt, and walked out without a word. The glass door swung shut behind him. Byron turned back to Craig. The lobby held its breath. "You refused to process my deposit. You questioned where my money came from. You told me this bank doesn't do handouts. You called the police." Byron listed each offense the way a judge reads charges. Flat, factual, devastating. "You did all of this in front of a lobby full of witnesses, in front of a security camera, and in front of that woman's phone." Craig's eyes darted to the woman still recording, then back. His face was slick with sweat. "Mr. Mitchell." "Sir." The word "sir" came out like it physically hurt him to say. "I was just doing my job. I didn't know. I couldn't have known." Known what? Byron's voice didn't rise. It dropped. That a black man could own this bank? That's the part you couldn't imagine? Craig's mouth opened, closed, opened. Nothing. Tom Hadley stepped forward. His hands were up, palms out, the universal gesture of a man trying to shrink a disaster he helped build.
Mr. Mitchell, I'm sure this was just a misunderstanding. Craig is one of our most experienced.
It wasn't a misunderstanding. Byron's voice cut through Tom's sentence like a blade through paper. A misunderstanding is getting someone's name wrong. A misunderstanding is processing the wrong form. This... Byron gestured at the counter, at Craig, at the phone still in Craig's hand, at the space where Officer Doyle had stood minutes ago. This was a choice. Your employee made a choice, and you stood beside him and made the same one. Tom's mouth clamped shut. His hands dropped to his sides. The corporate attorney opened his leather portfolio, pulled out a single sheet of paper, held it at his side, ready. Sheila Burgess stepped forward, and Craig Lawson understood, with perfect, sickening clarity, that the next words out of her mouth were going to end everything. Sheila Burgess didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The lobby was so silent that every syllable hit like a hammer on glass. Craig Lawson. Craig flinched at the sound of his own name. You are suspended from this branch effective immediately, pending a full internal investigation into your conduct today and every complaint that has ever been filed against you at this institution. Craig's hands trembled on the counter. His lips moved before his brain could stop them. Suspended? For what? I was protecting the bank. I was doing my job. Your job, Sheila repeated. The word landed like a slap. Your job is to serve customers, all customers, not to interrogate them, not to humiliate them, and certainly not to call the police on a man for the crime of making a deposit while black. But I didn't know who he was. That's the point. Sheila's voice dropped, cold, surgical. It shouldn't matter who he is. If Byron Mitchell had been a janitor with $200 to deposit, you should have treated him with the same respect you gave that white couple before him. The fact that you didn't, that's not a mistake. That's a pattern. Craig opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. He looked like a fish pulled from water, gasping, desperate, drowning in air. Please surrender your employee badge and any bank-issued materials. Now. Craig's fingers fumbled at his lanyard. His hands were shaking so badly he couldn't unclip it. He yanked it over his head. The badge clattered onto the counter, face up. Craig Lawson, Senior Teller. The title he had polished like a medal every single morning. Now it just looked like evidence. The corporate attorney stepped forward, placed the single sheet of paper on the counter. This is a formal notice of suspension. You'll receive communication from our legal department within 48 hours regarding next steps. You are not to contact any colleagues, access any bank systems, or enter any First Heritage branch until further notice. Craig stared at the paper. He didn't pick it up. This isn't fair, he whispered. 6 years. I gave this bank 6 years. Nobody responded. Sheila turned to Tom Hadley. Tom had been inching backward since the Escalade pulled up. He was now pressed against the far wall like a man trying to melt into the paint. Tom? He froze. 3 complaints were filed against Craig Lawson over the past 4 years, all from customers of color, all describing the same behavior we witnessed today. Sheila's eyes were steady, unblinking. every single one of those complaints landed on your desk, and every single one disappeared. No investigation, no documentation, no follow-up. Tom's face was gray, the color of old newspaper. Sheila, those complaints were, the situations were ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
Sheila let the word hang. A man was denied a savings account for his teenage son because Craig told them, and I'm quoting the complaint, "This isn't the kind of bank for your kind of family." You found that ambiguous? Tom said nothing. His Adam's apple bobbed. We'll be discussing your role in this extensively, Tom. I'd suggest you contact your own attorney. The corporate attorney gestured toward the door. Craig looked at it. 15 feet of polished marble between him and the exit. The same door he had pointed Byron toward 20 minutes ago. Now it was his turn to walk through it. Craig picked up the suspension notice, folded it with shaking hands, tucked it into his shirt pocket. He didn't look at anyone. Couldn't. He walked past the woman with the phone, still recording, past the elderly man with the newspaper, past the mother holding her toddler a little tighter. The glass door swung shut behind him. Nobody said goodbye. The lobby exhaled. Byron stood still for a long moment. Then he walked over to window 1. Denise Calloway was standing behind her desk. Tears were running down her cheeks, but her back was straight. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. Byron stopped in front of her. His voice was quiet, just for her. You were the only person in this building who tried to do the right thing. Denise shook her head. I should have said something sooner. I should have. You said it when it mattered. That took more courage than you know. He turned to Sheila. Make sure her actions are documented in the investigation file. Every word. Sheila nodded. Already noted. Denise pressed her lips together, nodded once. A small moment. But in a room full of people who had stayed silent, it meant everything. Patricia Odom, the woman with the phone, posted the video at 6:14 p.m. that evening. No filter, no edits, no caption except 3 words. Watch this. All of it. By midnight, it had 800,000 views. By Sunday morning, 2.3 million. By Monday, the day Byron was supposed to be formally introduced as the new owner, 4.2 million views and climbing. The video was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit threads with thousands of comments, group chats, family dinners, barbershops and break rooms across the country. The clip that went most viral was 11 seconds long. Craig leaning forward, teeth bared, finger pointed, and his voice sharp, dripping with disgust. I don't care if it's 2 billion. You black guy, get out. 11 seconds. That was all it took to end a man's life as he knew it. Local news picked it up first. Charlotte's Channel 9 ran it at the top of the 6 o'clock broadcast. Then Atlanta, then D.C. By Tuesday morning, CNN had it on a split-screen panel. MSNBC ran a 12-minute segment. The New York Times published a piece with the headline, "He walked into a bank to make a deposit. They called the police." Craig Lawson's name was no longer just a name. It was a headline, a hashtag, a punchline, a warning. And then the internet did what the internet does. It started digging. Craig's old Facebook posts surfaced first. Screenshots spread like wildfire. Racist jokes shared in 2019. a meme about building the wall from 2020. A comment under a local news story about a black teenager shot by police. Maybe if he'd just listened to the officer, he'd still be alive. Then came his old tweets. Derogatory comments about black neighborhoods. A reply to a colleague's vacation photo in Mexico. Hope you got your shots, and I don't mean tequila. Craig deleted all his social media accounts by Sunday night. Every platform, every trace. Too late. The screenshots were already archived, already shared, already burned into the public record. His phone number was leaked by Tuesday. He changed it by Wednesday. His landlord received 17 calls from strangers asking if Craig still lived there. A neighbor told a reporter Craig hadn't left his apartment in 3 days. The world had found Craig Lawson. And the world was not done with him. Inside First Heritage Bank, the reckoning moved faster. Sheila Burgess retained an outside law firm, Morrison and Dade, specialists in workplace discrimination and regulatory compliance, to conduct a full, independent investigation. The scope was broad. Every complaint, every personnel file, every transaction log from Craig's window for the past 3 years. The findings arrived in 9 days, 42 pages. Craig Lawson had violated federal banking regulations, specifically the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and core principles of the Community Reinvestment Act. He had systematically treated customers of color with hostility, suspicion, and contempt. The investigation confirmed what Denise had whispered to Officer Doyle. Craig never entered Byron's account number into the system. He typed random characters. He never searched. He had decided Byron didn't belong before he even opened his mouth. But Craig wasn't the only one exposed. Tom Hadley's role unraveled page by page. 3 formal complaints against Craig, all from Black or Latino customers, had been filed over the past 4 years. Complaint 1. Craig refused to open a savings account for a black teenager and his mother, telling them, "This isn't the kind of bank for your kind of family." Complaint 2. Craig demanded a Latina woman provide 3 forms of ID for a $200 withdrawal, then told her to go back to whatever bank serves your people. Complaint 3. Craig called security on a black business owner trying to deposit a cashier's check, claiming it looked fake. All 3 complaints reached Tom Hadley's desk. All 3 were marked resolved. No action required. No investigation was launched. No report was filed. No record was kept. Tom Hadley didn't just ignore discrimination. He institutionalized it. The board acted within 48 hours of receiving the report. Craig Lawson, terminated with cause. Immediate. No severance. No letter of recommendation. His personnel file was flagged and forwarded to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. The OCC opened its own review and, within 6 weeks, issued a formal enforcement action. Craig Lawson was barred from employment in any federally regulated financial institution. He would never work in banking again. Not as a teller, not as a clerk, not as a janitor mopping the lobby floor. Tom Hadley, terminated for gross negligence, dereliction of supervisory duty, and systematic suppression of discrimination complaints. His 12-year tenure ended in a single phone call. His nameplate was removed from his office door before he finished packing his desk. But Byron Mitchell wasn't finished. He didn't file a complaint for himself. He filed on behalf of the 3 customers whose voices had been buried in Tom Hadley's desk drawer for years. The black mother and her son, the Latino woman, the black business owner. 3 people who had been wronged, silenced, and forgotten. Byron's legal team contacted each of them personally, explained what had happened, offered full legal representation at no cost. All three agreed to participate.
The case was filed as a civil rights complaint with the State Attorney General's office. It triggered a broader investigation into discriminatory lending and service practices across every First Heritage branch in the region. Craig Lawson and Tom Hadley were named individually as defendants. Craig's attorney took one look at the evidence, the video, the investigation report, the social media posts, the customer testimonies, and advised him to settle immediately. Fighting this in court would be public, prolonged, and devastating. Craig settled. The terms included a formal public apology, a financial contribution to a civil rights legal defense fund, and a signed acknowledgement of wrongdoing. The apology was televised. Craig sat at a table in a conference room. No tie, wrinkled shirt. He read from a prepared statement. His hands shook. His voice cracked twice. He said he was sorry. He said he understood the harm he caused. He said he would do better. The narrator noticed he never once looked into the camera. Tom Hadley settled separately, quietly. No press conference, no public statement. Just a check and a signature, and a man who disappeared from the industry like he was never there. Under Byron's direction, First Heritage Bank implemented mandatory anti-bias training across all branches. A new complaint system was established, independent of branch managers, reporting directly to compliance. And Byron personally funded a community oversight board, inviting local leaders, civil rights advocates, and, at his insistence, former customers who had experienced discrimination to sit on it. The bank that had once treated a black man like a trespasser was now being rebuilt from the inside by the man they tried to throw out. 6 months later, the Crestwood Boulevard branch looked the same from the outside. Same glass, same limestone, same American flag hanging limp in the corner. But inside, everything was different. Byron Mitchell still ran Pinnacle Equity Group, still managed $11 billion in assets, still wore sneakers to his daughter's soccer games on Saturday mornings. Nyla had scored 6 more goals since that day. Byron hadn't missed a single one. But now he also chaired the Open Door Initiative, a scholarship and small business loan program for underserved communities, funded entirely through First Heritage Bank. Not a PR stunt, not a press release wrapped around an empty promise. A real program with real money, changing real lives. The first round of scholarships went to 12 students. One of them was the son of the black woman Craig had turned away 3 years earlier. The boy whose mother was told, "This isn't the kind of bank for your kind of family." That boy was now a freshman at Howard University, studying finance. Byron never mentioned that publicly. He didn't need to. The boy's mother told the story herself, in an interview that went viral on its own. She cried twice during the recording, not from sadness, from the relief of finally being heard. Denise Calloway was promoted to assistant branch manager within 8 months. She didn't campaign for it, didn't politic, didn't ask. Sheila Burgess recommended her personally, citing exceptional integrity under extraordinary pressure. Denise now led new hire orientation at the branch. Every session started the same way. She'd stand in front of the room, hands clasped, voice steady, and say, "The person standing in front of your window is a human being. Before you see what they're wearing, before you see the color of their skin, before you see anything else, you see a human being. That's where this job starts. If you can't do that, this isn't the place for you. Nobody who heard that speech ever forgot it, and nobody who sat through it ever wanted to become the next Craig Lawson. Raymond Cross, Byron's godfather, the retired federal judge who sat in the Honda Pilot that Saturday morning watching everything through the glass, wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. The title? I watched a man be denied his dignity in a building he owned. It was shared over 600,000 times. 3 law schools added it to their civil rights curriculum. Raymond was 71 years old, 40 years on the bench, 1,000 written opinions. He told Byron afterward, "That op-ed was the most important thing I ever put on paper." Craig Lawson moved out of state, changed his phone number for the 3rd time. His LinkedIn profile read, "Open to opportunities," for 4 months before he deleted it entirely. Every employer who Googled his name found the video before they found his resume. Every interview ended the same way: a polite handshake and a call that never came. He got a job eventually, stocking shelves at a hardware store in a small town 2 states away. No customers, no counter, no nameplate to polish every morning. The man who once barked orders across a marble lobby now unpacked boxes in a windowless stockroom, alone. Tom Hadley was never rehired in banking. His name sat in the OCC enforcement records: public, permanent, searchable. His wife filed for divorce 4 months after his termination. He sold the house and moved in with his brother. He never played golf with Craig's father again. And that's what stays with me. Not the twist, not Craig's face going white, not the settlement or the headlines. It's the 20 minutes before any of that happened. The 20 minutes when Byron Mitchell was just a man in jeans and sneakers. No title, no Escalade, no VP of compliance on speed dial, being told to get out. Being called trash. In a building full of people who said nothing. Byron had power. Because of that power, he got justice. But what about the people who don't? The mother Craig turned away. She didn't have a billion-dollar firm behind her. She just took her son's hand, walked out, and never came back. How many people walk out and never come back? That's the question that keeps me up at night. So let me ask you, and really think before you answer. Have you ever been somewhere you had every right to be and been made to feel like you didn't belong? What did you do? And what do you wish someone else in that room had done? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this story made you feel something, angry, hopeful, or both, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't. Because stories like this only matter if people hear them. I'll see you in the next one. Nah, but imagine losing everything just because you looked at someone's skin and decided they don't belong? That's crazy for real. Your skin color does not define your worth. Ever. Treat people like people, bro. It's literally not that hard. Imagine losing everything just because you looked at someone's skin and decided they don't belong? That's crazy for real. Your skin color does not define your worth. Ever. Treat people like people, bro. It's literally not that hard.